Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Kathy Michelle, and I help authors, entrepreneurs, people who are just ready to write the book already. Okay, so you could be an educator, you could be, a fisherman, you could be a pilot, whoever you are, and you have a book inside of your head that's been waiting to get out. That's who I'm speaking to. Okay. So I primarily help teachers because I'm an educator, for those of you who are new to me. And I help educators use the experiences and knowledge that they already have, and I show them how to mix it with some savvy business skills to create additional streams of income. And so I have been an educator, gosh, this is my 26th year of being an educator. But along the way, I became an entrepreneur and I also became an author. Okay. I self published all my books on Amazon, and I want to show and help and support those who are just been, nagging at their, themselves to get this book done, but just haven't done it already. Okay, so that kind of goes with, excuse me, the title of what I wanted to start off with. It's like write the book already. Okay, so how do you get unstuck and just go on and write the book already? Because it's probably been sitting in your head for a couple years or so, and it's time. Okay, it's overdue. Okay, now we all go through that, no matter if you are a seasoned author or a first time author. We all go through that struggle of what to write, when to write, how much to write, when to stop writing, when to do this, when to do that. My first book, it took me a couple of years to actually, sit down and finish it, and then publishing it was a snap. Once you have the actual manuscript, then publishing is super easy. It's very much like basically attaching a PDF and uploading it. Okay. I Like I said, I have mine on Amazon. There are other places, of course, that you can publish your book, but Amazon is king, queen, whatever you want to call it. So that's where I choose to have my books. I do have some that I just have on my online courses on Teachable, where you can just download one of my books and get it there. I just haven't taken the next step to add a seventh, eighth book to my Amazon platform, but that's on the way. Okay. So let's dig into it. Okay. I know some of you are out there thinking maybe, this is not for me, or maybe I'm just not, off the material, all those kind of things that you keep telling yourself to push and suppress your reasons why you haven't finished your book or even started the book. Some of you maybe have not started the book. Okay. So it's okay. I'm here to be a supportive person, here to walk you through it, talk you through it, give you some, 4 or 5 ways to get unstuck so you can go ahead and finish your book. Okay. So, first of all, for people who don't have an idea, okay, so if you are struggling with coming up with an idea for a book, first, I would say to kind of help you with that brainstorming is decide is it going to be fictional or non-fictional. Okay, because once you separate that, that will kind of steer you in whatever direction you want to go. Because if you're creating a fictional book, that's a whole nother, way of writing versus nonfiction. So fictional books could be a children's book, could be a novella, could be whatever, scary movie, what is it, scary books to horror, whatever it is. Those are all those fictional kind of books. Okay. If you're doing nonfiction, it's usually something where you are either telling your story, maybe it's your more of an autobiography, maybe it's teaching someone how to do something or informing someone how to do something or giving them steps, those kind of things. So those are usually your nonfiction type platforms. So if you don't have an idea, first thing, decide, are you going to be a fiction writer or nonfiction? You can do both. No one says you can't do both, but I'm just saying, for if this is your first book or whatever book you're working on, decide, okay, which route you're going to go. That's number one. Okay. Next thing is, what is your book writing goal? So I'm working with a client currently right now. She's writing her first book, and like I mentioned before, it has taken her probably 2 or 3 years to finally buckle down and get serious about writing the book and getting it published. Okay. So for her, the goal is not about making money. It's not about, oh, my lifelong dream is to be an author. It's more about a release of creativity, a release of whatever's been going on in her head, a release of sharing her story. Okay. So for her, it's about just sharing her story. Okay. So decide on what your book writing goal is, because if it's just sharing your story, that's probably a lot harder because it's personal. Okay. You kind of have to relive, whatever story you're telling. Even if it's a funny story or a happy ending story, whatever it might be, it's still some emotional pieces in there because it's all about you. Okay. So you're being more subjective about what you're writing, because, it's going to be, your name on it, unless you use some kind of, surname or something like that. But you're letting people into your life, basically. So next, that second important thing is decide on what your book writing goal is. Okay. For me, my first book, where is it? This is my first book, Make Money Teaching Cooking Classes, a guide to start your own cooking business. Okay. So that was my first business um, as an entrepreneur. And I decided that I felt the need to share my knowledge with other people. So it wasn't about, oh, I want to tell my personal life. I wasn't so much trying to be, some big time best selling author or anything like that. That wasn't my goal. I did have a goal of always wanting to be an author, whether it was just like one book, one and done, or, whatever it was. I did want to kind of have that behind my name, as she was an author, that kind of thing. So this was kind of like killing two birds with one stone. I wanted to share my expertise about what I learned about creating a business from scratch, literally from the ground up, a business that most people have never done, or very few people have ever heard of, kind of thing. So I felt like it was groundbreaking information that was so applicable to so many people who have, a love for food and love for kids. And there was no book or guide or blueprint on how to do it when I started the business. This was back in 2000. Gosh, how long ago was that? 2008, I believe. Yeah, 2008. So there was nothing out there for us to, my partner and I, for us to follow. So we had to basically create our own blueprint. So that's why I call this a guide, okay? Because it's a step-by-step guide on how to start a cooking kids business. It's not, there's a few personal, aspects of the book, like here's what we did and here's what happened and we laughed about it and we got over, or this is what happened, or this is why I got started, this kind of, it's just like a few snippets of personal information. But for the most part, it's just like, okay, chapter 1, here's what you do first. Chapter 2, here's what you do next. Chapter 3, don't forget to do this. So that's the kind of book that I chose to write about for my first book. Okay. So get your book writing goal in mind of what do you want to do. Share your story, be a step-by-step guide, just be creative, whatever it is. Maybe you have a special story about your childhood you want to share. Beautiful things. Okay. So, but you need to know your goal. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, think about who is it for. Okay. So for me, when I was writing that book, I felt like, yeah, it's probably more for people who are either, in the culinary world or in the education world. Because if you're writing a book, if you're creating a business with children, then you need to have some background with how to deal with children, child development, teaching, educators, something, social work, something. But then you also need to know a little bit of something about food, okay? Because we want the kids to cook the food, eat the food, we want them to learn how to cook the food. So I had in mind, this book is for maybe someone fresh out of culinary school and they want to have a restaurant or something, but of course that's creating a whole lot of uh, things, past steps to get to that point, of course, and a lot of money as well. And I felt like, hey, if someone wanted to just start off, home base or mobile or something, then this guide would be good for them. So that, hey, here's how you can do it if you just want to start in your home. Then I start thinking about who else might want to do things out of their home. I was like, oh, mothers, stay at home mothers and fathers. Okay. So I was like, oh, this would be awesome if you were a stay at home parent and you started your own little cooking, business where kids come over to your house and they pay you to, do your cooking classes and you don't even have to leave your house. Okay. And then, of course, being an educator, I thought of teachers. Okay. Because we're teaching all day long, teaching kids. We know how to handle kids. We can handle 30 something kids, at one time, doing 1,000 different activities. And teachers are always looking for ways to make extra money. I'm one of them. Okay. So because we don't get paid a lot of money. So this was a way for me to, ooh, okay, let me, do this in a way that will be an easy, add in to, let's say, on a weekend. You can teach one cooking class, on a weekend or after school, after you get off work, we get off, fairly early, 3 o'clock, 3:30. You can do a cooking class starting from 4 to 6, that kind of thing. Because that's exactly what we did. We were teachers and we cooked, doing cooking classes after school and on the weekends and things like that. So as I started getting my idea of who is this for, that helped me to round out what I needed to include in the book. And then even after I published the first book, me being an educator, I was like, what if I created a workbook to go along with the guide? Because, it's one thing to, read through the steps of the book, and it's another if you plan out each strategic step, from the essential equipment supplies, how do you pick a site location, things like that. So that's why I created a workbook to go along with my book, because I felt like, as an educator, okay, I felt like this was kind of a good way to add a companion to my book, my original book. So that's how I became an author a second time. I had 2 books then. Okay, so you see how this evolves into these 2 things. Because once you know who the book you're writing is for, it kind of morphs itself into whatever it's supposed to be. Okay, I had no plans on creating a workbook when I was originally writing my first book. It just evolved into that as I started, completed the book. I was like, wow, this needs to be added to it, kind of thing. Okay. So that's the third thing to keep in mind, thinking about who is it for. Okay. The next thing, how are you going to get unstuck? Okay. Very big, very big, very big. Okay. So getting unstuck is almost like clearing your mind of all the things that are making it fuzzy. Okay. So it might help you, okay, it helped me to do some research on, let's say you have picked your idea, you have decided whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you have decided on your book writing goal, and you have decided who it's for. Now you need to research, okay, to see what's out there already. So what would be the point? Well, I mean, I still probably would have done it, but what if there was a book that was already giving someone step by step on how to create a kids cooking school? Then I probably would have never written that book. Okay. I probably would have gone and written something else, but it's just one of those things. If you research whatever it is that's your idea, your nonfiction, who is it for, your goal writing, all that stuff, and you start looking, research Amazon, Google, wherever you choose to look. Those are the best spots. Okay. Amazon and Google, just type in, a possible title for your book or subject for your book. Okay. And see what pops up. You need to see what pops up in your niche. Okay. Your niche is just like the area of focus, basically, where you're going to be, of course, sharing your book with. Okay. So whether it be on Amazon or on your website or what have you, you need to know what people are talking about, what people are looking for, what people want. Okay, what's popping? Okay, what's popping on Amazon? What's the number one selling book right now in whatever topic that you want to write your book about? Okay, what's number 10? Okay, what's number 100? Okay, so you need to look at that range of books in between the number one, the 10, the top 50, the top 100, and see what's popping. Okay, because if you're in the top 100, they're doing pretty good. Okay, if they're on Amazon, they're in the top 100. That means their book is doing pretty good. People are looking for their book. People want their book. People have bought their book if they're in the top 100. Okay, just keep that real, because books are it's a luxury if you want to call that. It's a luxury. People buy books because they want them. Okay, people don't necessarily buy books that they need unless of course you're in college, or you're about to, let's say you're about to buy a house and you need to get some information, that kind of thing. So it's most of the time it's a want. You see what the latest book, maybe what's on Oprah's latest book club list, whatever. Oh, I'm going to get it because everybody's talking about it. Let me go read it. Okay, but there is a need for some books, but most of the time people just want it. Okay, so research, check and see what is popping. That is the best way to get unstuck, because if you see, hey, there is a need for books about, I don't know, what's the latest fad out there, yoga, keto, all that kind of health stuff, juicing, you know, whatever, just vegan, all that kind of stuff is popping right now. Okay. So even though it might seem like, oh, it's inundated, there's, 50 books on keto. Well, maybe you do yours a little bit different. Maybe you do yours that include recipes on every page, so you tailor it to be different from what's already out there. Or maybe you're in a niche where there's hardly any books on the subject. So sometimes that can be good too, because then you are I guess you're a front runner, in that area. So it's good to know that somebody's interested. So it's okay to have, a crowd. You just got to make sure you stand out in the crowd by doing something different or offering something different in your book. Or if it's just a little bit. Like I said, with my first book, there was nothing. So I created a book that met a need that I was looking for at the time. Who's to say there's not 10,000 other people who are looking for my book, you know? And now, if my book is the only book that comes up when they do that Google search or the Amazon search, who do you think they're going to buy? I'm the only one. So who do you think they're going to buy? I'm just saying, okay? So think about that to get unstuck. Do some research, look at your niche on Google and Amazon and see what's popping. Okay. The next thing you can do to get unstuck, and this is a doozy, is keep it simple, scholars. Okay. KISS. Keep it simple, scholars. Okay. You do not need to write a 500-page book. Okay. Because it could be 500 pages of something that you think is so important, so great, but if whoever your target reader is, if they're not liking it within the first 30 pages, they're not going to read the rest of your 450 pages. They're going to put it down. Okay. So whatever it is you're trying to convey in your book, it needs to be good enough in the first 30 pages for you even to consider writing more than that. Okay. And again, don't be hard on yourself. Okay. Keep it simple. There's no point in writing a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah and, just filler stuff because you want your book to be thick. If what they really need is only in about, 10 of those pages. If you have a 10-page book that meets the needs of what people are looking for, there you go. Publish your 10-page book. Okay. The first book, the shortest ebook I ever did was this one. Okay. This is a kid entrepreneur book that I created for grades 3 through 6. Okay. It started off as 5 pages because I was doing a workshop and I needed a quick uh, little guide for the students. For it was a teenage group that were learning how to be entrepreneurs, and I needed a quick little, booklet. So I created a 5-page booklet. Okay, just literally in a weekend. And then once, I saw the feedback from it and everybody was like, ooh, okay. I'm like, hey, what's up with that? I'm like, let me publish this on Amazon. So that's exactly what I did. I published a 5-page ebook on Amazon. And let me tell you, people bought it. Okay. So it doesn't matter how many pages, it's about the interest in the subject. It's about what people need at the time or people want at the time. Kids are watching, people on TV, people creating businesses left and right, kids selling lemonade, kids, selling hot dog. So the bug is out there for kids to start their business. So if a parent is like, I don't know what to do, and they come across my little 5-page ebook, I think it was like I was selling it for like $2 or something like that. It's 5 pages. You can't charge them $500 for a 5-page ebook. So yeah, I think I was charging like $2 for it. What kind of dent in their budget is that going to put for them to get a $2 book that's going to help their kids start the business. So those type of things are what I'm talking about. I kept it real simple, to the point. Like, hey, here's what you need to do. And then later on, after about, gosh, it was about a year later. I think it was maybe 7 months later, I decided, okay, I want it to be a paperback, and on Amazon, just so you know, if you want to publish your book as a ebook, it can be whatever number of pages. But if you want it to be a paperback book, it needs to be at least 24 pages. So I decided, okay, I want it to be a paperback book so I can sell it. Like, when I do like vendor events or workshops and stuff, I want to be able to have copies there to sell. So I added, okay, 20 something more pages to it, you know. Like, since it's for kids, I made sure they had some key vocabulary words, key terms, and things like that. The educator in me is going to have it. I made it nice and colorful and spaces for students to write things and fill things out and, give some definitions about things, stuff like that. So once I added those things to it to get it up to 24 pages, then I publish it as an ebook and a paperback book. So they have the options. Again, you want to have options. Multiple streams of income is the goal. Okay. So if it's just an ebook, great. Eventually down the line, you might say, what can I add to it? What can I do to it to make it a paperback book? You don't have to do it all at the same time. My first book was an ebook for 2 years. And then I decided to make it a paperback book. Both sold. Some people prefer ebooks, some people prefer paperback books. Actually, I think it's about even. Surprisingly, maybe a few more paperback books for people out of the country. I noticed people that buy my book who are out of the country tend to buy paperback books. I don't know, maybe because download is different, and I have no idea. I haven't, traveled the world so much. I mean, of course, I've been out of the country, but not like that. But yeah, because when you're on Amazon, you can see what country is buying your book. So I just noticed usually the people who are out of the U.S., I'm in the U.S., they tend to buy my paperback book versus people who are in the U.S. Might opt to do the ebook. Who knows why? Maybe I'll research that one day, but that's how it is. Okay. And just so you know, I also changed some things and made a team one also. So I took a 5-page ebook and ended up splitting it into 2 books, one for the lower grades and one for the upper grades. So this one is just less colorful, added more in-depth kind of things for teens who are, up to like, 19 years old, so they can understand a little bit more of the background of being an entrepreneur, that kind of thing. So, I made it age appropriate. That's basically what I did. Added, taken away to make it age appropriate. Okay. So that was pretty much it. Let me check my notes and see. Yeah, I think I've pretty much hit everything. So don't sweat the small stuff. Write the book already. Okay? You're leaving money on the table if you're still sitting on the book that you have been thinking in your head, or you've been scribbling down on post-its and haven't put it all together on, a Word document or pages, whatever you choose. Just start writing. I used to be a English teacher, and remember when we used to be like, this is your sloppy copy. Make your sloppy copy, okay? Because if you're worrying about grammar, and you're worried about how many pages is it, you're worrying about, well, how does this sound, you're worrying about, okay, how much money am I going to make off of this book? Cut it out. Who was that from? Full House. It just popped in my head. Cut it out. It was just like one of those things. Okay, flashback. So stop worrying about all that stuff. Write your sloppy copy. Start typing it or writing it in a notebook, however you choose it. Use the voice record if you do it on uh, Chrome, Google Chrome. Do the voice record and just talk it, and it will type it for you. Okay, I've done that plenty of times to, if I don't just feel like typing, I'm not a fast typer, just do the voice record on Google Chrome and just start talking your book, and it will just start typing it for you. Yeah, there might be a few mistakes or spaces and stuff like that. You can go back and clean it up later. But the main thing is talk it through, type it, write it, however you choose to do it. Make your sloppy copy. Just write and stop worrying about all the aesthetics and the cover and all those types of things. Just write. Okay? So if you have questions, make sure you put it in the comments. I will check your questions below. If you're watching the replay, you can still put in your comments. I will come back and check. If you're needing help, any assistance, support, you can reach me at my Facebook page. I think about a second. You can reach me on my Facebook page here at Teachers, Side Hustle Strategist page. And I also have my Side Hustle Facebook group. Yeah, a lot of times people will ask more, personal questions, things like that, because it's not a huge, audience. Can't remember how many people in there. So maybe like 200, maybe like 200, almost 200 people, but it's still very personal. So if you have, questions, you can put it in there. If you just want to send me an instant message, do that. If you want to schedule a one-on-one conversation with me, I have my free 30-minute coaching sessions. You can sign up for that. It's at bit.ly chat with Kat. Okay, and I will put that in the comments below in a minute. Okay, if you are ready to get your book rolling, okay, I put a link above so you can see where you can get to my class on Teachable. So I have a class, Learn to Create, Self-Publish, and Sell an Ebook. You can do it in less than a month, okay? There's videos, tutorials on how to do everything step by step, click by click on how to create it all, okay? Just follow the lessons, boom, bam, boom. You can have your book done by the end of the month, okay? Really. I mean, I say less than a month. Really, it could be a couple of weeks. If you just, follow the lessons, let's say, for the next 2 weeks, you'll be done in 2 weeks, okay? A lot of times I can finish a book in about a weekend, okay? But, I've done it several times now. But once you get the hang of it that first time, then it's like, oh, it's cool, yeah, okay? I can crank this out in a hot second, okay? So check me out, okay? If you want to talk to me some more, leave your comments, sign up for a free session. or sign up for the course and get your book done before the holidays, before somebody's next birthday, anniversary, whatever you're celebrating. Get it done. Write the book already. All right. All right, you guys. See you on the next one.